The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday.
And it's fun.
And we had a great weekend.
Yes, we did. And right now, we're running on an automated system today, so we're testing this out. So if there are any screw-ups, we can blame the tech guy.
Or ISIS.
Or ISIS. But it's going to be very interesting. Right off the bat, for those of you who read the Weekend Flush, the weekly column that comes out by myself, we talked about local media and the big mess going on right now. You know, when we present facts here on Spindle City Straight Talk, we make them very clear to everyone and we back them up. We do our research. We don't present the propaganda that makes city look very good, very bad, or indifferent. And we don't list things as ranking well. I can't rank Fall River as anything except in trouble.
Except rank.
But, you know, when the local media ignores the fact that there are 5 candidates for mayor on an ethnic channel, when they don't address all the issues, where they allow specific candidates to run ramp on the airwaves and they don't give the equal time necessary by the federal regulations to those other candidates because they either haven't asked for it or they don't care, that denies you your rights as the public to know what's going on. So remember that when you hear someone talking on the radio or on TV or publishing an article in the paper that, is this all the facts? And if you want us to investigate it, let us know, because guess what? We're standing by to dig into more than other people want us to. But interestingly enough, that leads us into this. The Fall River ranking well in Fall River with their tax rate. Joe Good wrote an article this weekend which was laughable at best. And I have to say, it didn't take me more than 5 minutes, and I was on the phone with Chip while I was doing it, to get the data that's necessary. So you have a true picture of what Fall River's ranking well is. Fall River, our residential tax rate is $13.08 per thousand. We have no exemptions. We don't get any breaks unless you're a senior surviving family member of a firefighter or police officer who died in the line of duty. The median income, according to the U.S. Department of Census, is $32,209. Now remember, the median income is an aggregate collection of all the incomes in Fall River. So the guy who's making less than $15,000 a year to the guy who's making $158,000 a year. I wonder who that is. They're all put together and they come with a median income. They average it out. Well, if you base our tax rate at $13.08 per thousand, with a median income of $32,209, that gives you a tax percentage to your income of 40.609%. And that's if you earn the median income.
All right, CJ, I got to interrupt here.
Go ahead.
Way too many numbers here. We're going to confuse everybody, and that's what the Herald News is attempting to do.
That's what I was trying to do here.
The propaganda machine is attempting to bury the public in comparison data, which is irrelevant. The fact is, this is the reality. They talk about a number when the number suits them, but that number has an effect when you look at it in its ratio to the income of the people who pay. Basic economics say you charge what the market will bear. Well, the fact is that, you know, and I know you're going to go over Boston and Quincy, but the reality is I've been giving these statistics for 2 years in front of the council. The fact is that Fall River has the second lowest household median income of any city of our size in the Commonwealth. And, you know, and they don't give any breaks to the residents. The bottom line is, listen, this is all propaganda. You got to remember one thing about the Herald News, and they call themselves professional reporters. Well, professional reporters are supposed to do their due diligence and put things in a proper context so people will get the true picture. Well, the true picture is if you have $2 and they're charging $8 for a hamburger, you can't afford the hamburger. And if your tax rate is $13 per thousand and you have one of the lowest household median incomes in the state, that is a very high tax rate for you. And that's not even factoring in the fees and all the other costs that we have. The reality is, listen, did she mention Swansea and Westport?
No.
No, it's good because these are the stats for Swansea, because this is where all the people who left Fall River, by the way, went. And this is from, I'm not going to be like the Herald News. I'm not going to use my own numbers and try to make them work for me. This came from, because places like Swansea, Westport, and Somerset are not on the U.S. Census Bureau. They're too small. They don't deal with those facts when you go to Quick Facts on U.S. Census Bureau. This is from citydata.com. So you can go to citydata.com on your computer and check these numbers. The average median household income in Swansea is $69,441, which is more than the state average of $66,000. The Westport median household income is $76,614, and the average household income in Somerset is $73,053. The average income on city data, that's double what Fall River's. Every single one of those is more than double the average household median income. And the fact is, the two cities closest in population to Fall River, of the 10 cities of our size, Newton and Cambridge, both have lower tax rates than Fall River. And they have lower tax rates with the median household income. And this is off the top of my head. I don't have those figures, but I've said them so often, I'm pretty sure that the average household income in Newton is $113,000, and the average household median income in Cambridge is $76,000. So they are double, triple, and quadruple what Fall River's income is. So the bottom line is, don't believe the propaganda. The reality is, think about this, people. This is the con. Incumbent politicians take campaign ads, and they have the largest campaign war chests. So the media, especially the sterile news, always has given way to the propaganda for incumbents. You saw how long it took them to begin to really look closely at Will Flanagan. Now we see it again when they're trying to do this. You know, this whole tax rate, big serial editorials about let's really look at Fall River is not. It's let's really misrepresent what Fall River really is and continue the BS for the campaign season. It's just like our mayor and the sellout three. What did they do this weekend? Nobody could find the mayor for his entire term. Nobody could find him in City Hall. Now he's everywhere. He's ubiquitous. It's like, you know, have a basketball game, hit a tennis ball, open an envelope, Sam's there. Sam's there. It's campaign season. It's an insult to your intelligence, people. They're trying to buy you. This weekend, where did they have the hot dog? Right at one of the most friendly neighborhood associations that the mayor has. The man who worried about Stop and Shop and said, whoa, do you complain when they raise the price of milk at Stop and Shop? Well, I don't buy milk at Stop and Shop if they raise the price. I go somewhere else, as we said before. But, well, one councilor bought the hot dogs. The other councilor bought the buns. The other councilor bought the chips. And the mayor brought the BS to pile on top for a condiment. And the fact is, here we go again. Chow mein sandwiches, ham and bean dinners, free hot dog, well, not even free, they asked for a donation, and half the people couldn't afford them. You know something? Wake up. Wake up. These politicians, I am so angry, especially with two of these politicians, and I'll name them. Linda Pereira and Ray Mitchell both went to numerous retirees meetings. They stood there while they watched people with very low fixed incomes on retirement literally be reduced to tears because they couldn't afford their medications, they couldn't afford to pay for their houses, and yet now they ignore that fact. It's like, as a matter of fact, I think the Herald News reporter actually said, oh, we don't really have that many poor people in Fall River.
Right.
I don't know how far her head is up her derriere, but she doesn't live in the Fall River I do, because I see a lot of poor people, and I get calls every single day from people on fixed incomes complaining that they can't afford what this city has done to them for their medical costs, for their taxes, and they're losing their houses. The reality is, why don't we do a study on how many homes are owned by retirees on fixed incomes? Why don't we see exactly what the impact of a tax increase? I'm sick and tired of watching Lou Pacheco be cavalier about the fact that the hell with them, let them eat cake. You know, we have a
No, that wasn't his statement. I think it was more along the lines of they're too cheap to spend $5.
Well, yeah, no, it's like, I'm not going to give my people a pay cut while they're too cheap to pay $5 from the man who won't live in this city.
Exactly.
And this is it. This is campaign season, and it's only going to get worse. So I'm going to begin the campaign season with a very, very simple message. Don't believe the bullshit. You couldn't find the mayor for the last 8 months. Now you can find him. You didn't get a hot dog the day after he got sworn in, and you didn't get a chow mein sandwich. Let's not make that what you vote for. Let's remember what they've done. Let's remember that they disappeared after the budget was voted in. Where were they? Did anybody see these counselors that are giving out hot dogs right after the budget was passed and people wanted their head on a pike? No. They let it blow over. Now they're going to play the old game. Buy them a hot dog and buy their vote. Well, this is what's wrong with Fall River, and we've got to change it, and only we can change it, and I'm sick and tired of it. And you know something? To me, it's obscene, and it's more obscene, especially by the two counselors who attended those meetings. They saw firsthand. There were 250 retirees at the Liberal Club at one meeting, and one of the women got up and said she worked for the school department for over 50 years, and she was living like on $12,000 or $14,000 a year. And she was literally reduced to tears. She went in front of the council and broke down in front of the city council. And I'm calling you all out. You're a disgrace. You don't represent the people. You don't care about the people. And by ignoring the fact that we have poor people, you don't belong in those chairs. And I don't care if you, and stop voting for people because they're your neighbor, or because you knew them, or because they've been in that seat for 20 years. The only way we're going to have effective government is put people in there who will have a government that represents us. We can't have a government of the people and by the people and for the people unless we have people in those seats who actually know what the people are. This city is not Cambridge. It is not Newton. It is not Boston. But in those cities, and CJ, I'll segue over to CJ, because CJ's going to tell you the kind of tax breaks and the breaks they get in these communities that are far more affluent. People have far more money, and that's the reason they have far more business. Because people in those communities have money, and the governments in those communities understand that they have an obligation to try to give some relief to the taxpayer. CJ?
Well, you know, Chip, I'm glad you bring that up because, again, we look at the fact that Fall River, on the median income, about 41% of your income goes to just pay local property tax. That doesn't include bag fees, sanitation fees, CSO fees, or anything else. Now, in New Bedford, it's 44.1%. but they don't have to pay bag fees. They don't have to pay sanitation fees. They don't have to pay a CSO fee. So there is a big difference. But let's go to Cambridge. Cambridge is a community. They're a major university community. They have Harvard, MIT. So their population is transient. Most of those people are either boarders at the college or renting. But their property tax rate is 10.4% of the median income. 10.4%. But now you really want to get slapped in the face? They get a property tax exemption if you live in the property of $259,000. Imagine that. The first $259,000 you don't pay a dime in taxes on. That's amazing.
Well, nobody paid taxes in Fall River.
Nobody paid taxes in Fall River, true. Boston does it a little differently. Now in Boston, their percentage is 22.6% of income. Okay, and when you consider Boston, it's kind of large. They have a lot more expenses. But Boston gives the property tax exemption at $1,763.84 off the taxes, not off the property value. So $1,700 is in your pocket, Chip. Wouldn't you like that in Fall River?
Well, you know, CJ, you're right. And see, this is the thing. And let's go back to a quick number, though. Our tax rate is 13. The tax rate in Cambridge, which is our size, by the way.
That's right.
Which is our size. It's one of the cities in our universe, and our tax rate is 13. So where Joe Good says we're doing well, I don't understand that, because Cambridge, where the median income is $75,000, which is more than double, it's like 2.5 times what the median income is Fall River.
Here's the thing.
And they get an exemption. So, you know, this again shows how, you know, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. The reality is, this is election season. They are going to do everything they can to manipulate the truth, to tell you half-truths, to give you misinformation, and hope it's not corrected. But that's why we're going to be here. Because I'll tell you what, these are the numbers. I told you, you don't believe my numbers, go to citydata.com, go to the United States Census Bureau. Our figures are there. I don't make these things up. We don't make these things up. You know, these are facts. And when we have a mayor, I think, CJ, you related a story to me that you had a retiree go up and say, because you people aren't paying the retirement system on time, we're not going to get our checks. Yes. And the mayor said, that is not true. Of course she's going to say that. But again, that's a half-truth. You're right. They are going to get their retirement checks. But somewhere down the line, they may not get their retirement checks. Or active employees today may not have a retirement system. Why? Because the city of Fall River fails to pay its obligation. It made a contract with these people when they were employees and put in 30 and 40 years of their lives working for the city. They worked and they earned that pension. But when the city doesn't pay their fair share, doesn't pay on time, or doesn't pay at all, and raids a pension system, what happens is the unfunded liability ultimately gets so big that before one of these days, the pension system in this state may collapse. And what a lot of people don't realize is when this pension system was developed, and I was very friendly with one of the individuals who was the architect of the pension system. His name was John Jennings. He was the chairman of the retirement board in Boston. He was also an international trustee in the Firefighters Union. Very good friend of mine, brilliant guy. What a lot of people don't realize is the way that system was created, the pension system was supposed to be fully funded by 2010. It is now 2015, and we have one of the worst pension systems in the nation. Why? Not because the pension system is screwed up, because governments raided the pension system all these years. Since the beginning of this pension system, they've used it to steal money to run their cities and towns, and they continue to do this. And who ends up being the victim at the end? Look what happened in Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
They gutted the pension system. Granted, the Rhode Island pension system is kind of screwed up, but I mean, because it's run by individual towns. But the fact is, you know, it's not going to be Billy Bolger, who left the Senate, took a position at UMass, and then as soon as he got into that position, he got a $200,000 pay raise. That's what I said. Right. $200,000 a year.
Hey, we have a
added
mayor
to
that
his
did that.
salary.
We have a
That's
mayor
right.
who did that.
That's exactly. And one of our former mayors is now making about almost $300,000. So now when he retired, he's getting about $250,000 for a pension, $250,000. So if they cut the pension system, they might cut him to a paltry maybe $175,000. But this is the problem.
Can't live on that. I can't.
They continue to steal, abuse, and then at the end, we're the victims. Like the healthcare in the city of Fall River. We've run under budget for years. And what did they do? They changed the healthcare to take more money out of our pocket. We weren't rewarded for doing a good job and maintaining cost containment. No, we were penalized, just as you are in a pension system. Stop these bandits, these thieves that call themselves your friend from doing this. You've got to stop. We've got to change this. We've got to get rid of this mayor, and we've got to get rid of this council, period.
You know, Chip, you brought up Cambridge a little while ago, and you're right. It's time for the entire council to go. But one of the things about Cambridge, which kind of parallels Fall River in a great number of ways, is they have a huge amount of nonprofit individuals, companies. MIT, Harvard, they are huge property owners in Cambridge. Hospitals, they don't pay taxes.
Yeah, but
and
what do they pay in Cambridge?
You know?
Huh? What do they pay?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and the thing is that on average, you're looking at a 10.5, 10.6% tax to income ratio across the state. Some are a little higher, like Quincy, which is in the 20s, but there aren't too many which are above 25, except for Fall River and New Bedford. So again, we're striving for the top. We're striving for the top. And by the way, we did make the top finally. New Bedford came down in their crime ratings. They are now below Fall River.
Wonderful. We're always in first place on the bad things.
We got to make it. We got to make it right.
But
you
in
know?
Cambridge, they do pay fees.
Pay in lieu of taxes. Right.
Yeah, in lieu of taxes, which of course that's never going to happen in Fall River because the nonprofit hospital whose board of directors makes $100,000 plus for showing up once or twice, a year maybe or once a month. They're all political players. The people on the board are all political players. Right. Because I've done a lot of reflecting. We don't have a monarchy anymore. We have an oligarchy.
Yes, definitely. No question about it.
It's no longer a monarchy.
Yeah.
It's an oligarchy.
Yep.
Because we have a few people, and they are the rich and the political machine who really run this city. Mm-hmm. And that's got to change because the fact is that, listen, Cambridge is a classic example. But actually, we had one of our viewers, and CJ, I think we should probably put that on the website if it's not on there already. We had one of our viewers that when we started running all these statistics and I began to talk about our tax rate has to be looked at in relation to the income.
Yes.
Because as I said, nothing is an accurate indicator unless it is correlated to what it affects. The price of a hamburger is relative. The price of a hamburger to a guy with $1,000 in his wallet, a $9 hamburger is nothing. A $9 hamburger to somebody with $2 in their wallet it's what the market can bear. So when Joe Good starts spouting on how good we're doing, no one will do the ratio. But one of our viewers, when I made that assertion before the council and on our show, he does this, I guess, for a living.
Yes.
And not because he's our friend, but he ended up becoming one of our friends. He was a viewer, but he tested us. And he did a study. And he did the numbers. And he sent us an email and said, you know something? You guys are right.
Yep.
And
he even sent us the printouts and the graphs and everything to prove it.
And CJ, we can put that on our site.
Yep.
And you guys can look because you know something? That's the reality. Don't listen to the bullshit. I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it. And the fact is that what they're trying to do is they're putting up a smoke screen because what they're going to do now is Fall River's not that bad. People pay more. We rank
well. We rank well.
Rank well. Yeah, we well crap. I'm going to tell you about the only place worse than us is Lawrence. And Lawrence is the only city in the state that has a higher percentage of people below the poverty level than Fall River. Fall River is 23.3. Lawrence is up around 24 and change. And ironically enough, Boston, which is a very large city, obviously over 600,000 people,
right.
They actually have a poverty rate of 21%. That's a pretty high poverty rate.
Yes.
But of course, larger cities tend to have,
but they have the lowest tax rate.
but they have a low. Well, they're trying to help. Well, what a novel idea. Try to help the low-income people by having low tax rates.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, we are crazy.
Do you study Keynesian economics?
Yeah, Keynesian. We have one of our candidates that likes Keynesian economics, which basically, in case you don't know it, I'm a big fan of Milton Friedman, but Keynesian economics is a form of economics that really believes in the government intervening in the economy, which we found out what governments can do. Just look at our deficit. Look at the cities and towns. Look at our states, and look at the mess they've made. Because, as Milton Friedman said, not Keynes from Keynesian economics. If you give the government the Sahara Desert, they'll run out of sand in 5 years. You know something? The last thing we need involved in our economy is the government at any level. And with that, we're gonna begin to wrap up the show today. But the fact is that, listen, the bottom line is, the season of bull is upon us. It's election time. And when you see one of the sitting city councilors that voted for the budget, give them a couple of little short shots like this. Maybe you'll knock the truth out of them or some sense into their head. Go ahead, CJ.
I'll tell you,
Close
Chip,
it up.
I'll tell you, Chip, this has been a great show. And I want to give a thumbs up and a great big shout out to the Niagara Neighborhood Association for what they did on Saturday. Those kids couldn't afford to have any snacks or anything, and they gave them out for free. And on top of that, they gave all those kids light sticks and toys and everything. But I think closing that night was the mayor and Nick Camara bringing up a basketball game with a bunch of the neighborhood children, and that was a great plus.
Yeah, I watched him. He stinks.
For the neighborhood. But I was still offended. Nick Camara would not say hello to me.
Well, what I'm more offended at is the mayor's playing basketball and giving tennis clinics, and he's not sitting in his office trying to fix this city.
No, he has his press conferences at the Cherry Web building.
And where his real office is. And you know something? That's your job. If you didn't want it, and don't tell me about your pay cut, because I'm checking to see if you're retired. And if you're collecting your retirement of over $100 grand and you're taking your mayor's salary, you're making a hell of a lot more than you were making even as DA, and you didn't take a pay cut, you changed jobs. So stop throwing it and start doing your job, because you're not going to be there much longer if I've got anything to do with it.
Well, I think we're going to be wrapping this puppy up shortly. And, thanks for watching. We have a great time here on Spindle City Straight Talk. We look to you for our tips and for our information. And without that, we can't do this show. Visit us on Facebook at South Coast Media and Spindle City Straight Talk. And, hey, political candidates, wake up. You have the option of getting your statements out there unedited, and the voter wants to read them, and we want to publish them. So make sure you know. And remember, we have the stats. If we need any help over at the Herald News, give us a phone call. We'll show you what the real world is all about.
That's right. And remember what Sir Edmund Burke said in about 1785. When good men do nothing, evil prevails.
This is true. Thanks for watching. You have a great day, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Stay angry.